Welcome to I'd Print That. I'm Andrew.
I'm Joe.
Had a busy week. But I actually printed a lot.
Really?
Tested things out, testing out more, doing my more, I'm over the point of the whole kilogram of plastic through it.
Right.
Now I tried out the copper fill I have.
Mm-hmm.
I had some really good prints with it. I printed my wife a geodesic planter for her desk.
Yeah, I need to try that aluminum fill that I've got. I'm going to use the temps that you gave me and see if I can get that going.
Yeah.
What else?
And I also printed, actually it was kind of cool. One of our coworkers' daughter is in a coding camp for the summer.
Yeah.
And actually, the coworker came to me and he was like, "Hey man, it was kind of cool. One of their first projects was to make a 3D object.
Using Tinkercad, actually.
Using Tinkercad, yeah." And I was like, "Oh, that's really neat." And he's like, "Yeah, it just kind of sucks. We got to take it to the library. We have to pay for the print. And it's going to take 2 weeks." And I was like, no. Give me the file.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a little Deathly Hallows symbol. If anybody's a Harry Potter fan, it's the triangle with the line through it and the circle.
Mm-hmm.
I grabbed it from him, and I grabbed she picked the copper fill color. She liked that color. And I printed it for her and handed it to her, and she was able to take it the next day to her little camp.
Yeah, it only took about, you say, an hour to print?
I think it was an hour and 10.
Yeah.
It was not a thing.
It's funny you saying you came back. It's like, well, how much does it cost? How much?
Yeah, he's like, "What do I owe you for materials?" And I'm like, if I were to really work it out, it'd probably be 5 cents.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh."
Because really, the copper fill was a sample that we got from Riley.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, other than really electricity and
I mean, I did
time.
pay for it. I did pay for those samples.
Okay.
But I don't care. I've had them forever.
Yeah, we've had them for over a year now.
Mm-hmm. And there's some I haven't even used yet, actually. I just tried out one. Well, no, I did use it. I did try it because it failed on another printer.
See, and I printed with the copper fill on the M3D, but I've just been having a heck of a time with that aluminum. It's just, the reason why is it cools really fast.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure the temps are right.
Yeah. And I think the only difference I had was I had a hotter bed temp.
Yeah, and I think that's probably because I think my bed temp was, 10 degrees cooler than what yours was. You had it, what, 60?
65.
65. See, and I had mine at like 50. So 15 degrees, and that's pretty considerable.
Yeah, and I print all my PLA prints at 65 bed temp so far.
I found 50's actually been pretty good for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
But I have noticed I get a very, very strong bond to the tape in the bed.
I say, and that's generally that's too much heat.
Mm-hmm. It is, but I'd rather it stick well than not.
Yeah.
I'm okay with peeling it off and replacing the tape.
Tape's cheap. So yeah, it's kind of my thought on it too. Tape is pretty cheap.
I did have to. I was running into problems printing things watertight. And I was already running 4 shells. So it should have never had a problem.
Yeah, 4 shells, you shouldn't have an issue with that.
I had to up my extrusion multiplier.
I use 1.1.
Yeah. Those come stock at 0.9.
So yeah, mine didn't. I used 1.1. But I'm also using a lot of the same profiles I use on my Perusa for my filaments and things like that. So I've really... No. I've been looking at some things. I need to go through and find out what my steps per millimeter are on, because both printers use the same 2560 board. They use the same MK8 extruder. And I need to compare the steps per millimeter on the Meat Creator versus the Perusa, and I want to make them match. Because I'm getting some great prints out of the Meat Creator, and the Perusa is not as good. Yeah. And I think my steps per millimeter might be off just a bit. And I figure if I match them, then I can at least see if that helps improve my prints or makes them worse. Yeah. Worst case scenario is I go back to your
default settings. Well, not default, but the settings you had.
Right, and I know that there's, when you adjust your millimeters, steps per millimeter, you don't necessarily want it to travel exactly 100 millimeters because you have back pressure on the nozzle and other things to compensate for. So you want it to probably be a little bit less than that. And I might still be a little too high on mine.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why I'm looking at it.
Seems like you're over extruding some.
Yeah, because I'm still getting pillowing when it's doing its solid fills.
That could be an infill issue, though, too.
If you look at... I did 2 prints on that bite clip for my Perusa.
Okay.
There's the one I did in the red ABS, and it looks like the width where the belt slides in, it's a little too narrow, like it's over extruded there. And then if you look at the top, it's pillowed up some. And then if you look at the orange one that I printed on the meat creator, it doesn't have those issues.
Oh, okay.
And as far as it goes, both with hatchbox filament, one was red, one was orange. I think same temps. The only difference would be the printers and the steps per millimeter on it. Okay. So I think it's just slightly over extruding. That's why I'm getting a little more inaccuracies as far as the gaps are concerned and the pillowing is.
Okay.
That's my only reasoning that I'm looking at doing it. So.
But yeah,
you printed let's see, doorstop.
I did a Hodor.
Yep, you did a Hodor.
It sits on my desk now.
I also noticed that the little Overwatch logo that you did when you posted the make, it's on the wrong thing on Thingiverse.
Is it?
Yep.
Whoops.
Yeah, it's the one that you printed. It's the all-in-one together one.
I did. Yes.
And it's not the separate one. Oops. I was gonna go print that. I was gonna go download it, and I was just followed your make, and I'm like, this isn't multiple pieces.
One of these things is not like the other.
So
yeah.
But I'm actually gonna do mine. Printed black ABS base. Then I'm going to do the aluminum fill for the body of the Overwatch logo, and then the orange hatchbox filament for the little thing at the top. Yeah. That way it looks similar to the actual Overwatch logo.
Mine's
I think it'd be pretty cool.
Green.
Yeah.
But I tried some wood filaments out on it. I tried a wood filament.
I haven't done that yet. I've still got to do those.
I found a really neat. My wife's really into feather earrings. And I found a really cool feather earring, and I was like, man, this would look neat in the wood.
Right.
And I couldn't. I think it's a temp issue. It was printing it, but it was just very spotty, like it wasn't extruding correctly.
Right.
Now I do have to say this filament is old, and I probably need to dry it.
This is the filament one.
No,
wood.
This is YNS.
Oh, okay.
I have not tried the filament. I haven't tried any of the filament one stuff.
Yeah, see, I've got the wood fills to try at the filament one. I just need to change nozzle diameters.
Oh, yeah.
Because it wants greater than 0.4, and I don't want to risk clogging a nozzle with keeping with a 0.4 fill.
Yeah.
Or 0.4 nozzle. I did at least buy a pack of nozzles so I can step up to a 0.5 and give that a shot.
Nice. But other than that, I'm still I really want to put this thing through its motions before I give an honest review. And I did find, and I don't know what had happened to it. So my y-axis, I wanted to start a print. It did something very similar to one of the Da Vinci's did a while back. It actually what it made me think of was M3D. So if you have an M3D or you're thinking of getting one thing it's going to do that'll scare you is as soon as you start it and it starts to find home, it slams itself all the way in the Y, slams itself all the way back in the X, and it sits there and it sounds like it's just sitting there going
right. Yeah, it goes to the Y home, sits there, and you hear the gears kind of grinding as it keeps trying to go past 0. And then it runs its way back to the X and sits there and grinds like it's trying to go past that. Yeah.
So my meat creator did that in the Y. It sat there and I was like, okay, well, that means I've got either a bad connection on my end stop,
Right.
or my end stop's going bad. So I kind of messing with it. I disabled steppers, moved the head away, and I just started playing with the end stop, clicking it on and
the
off,
little
clicking it on
mechanical
and off.
switch.
And the LED was lighting every time. And then I was like, okay, well, I moved the head over again, and I rehomed everything. Did fine. Didn't do it again. Hasn't done it since. Now, the only thing I can think of is the other problem I have with this printer, and it's a continuing problem, and I'm going to have to, it's going to be in my review, and I don't know if it's an anomaly, but it's very annoying when it happens with this printer. If I shut it off, I can't turn it on for, about 3 days without recompiling and re-uploading firmware.
Oh, is that the screen issue?
Yep, I get the
Really?
black bars on the screen. I pulled the bottom open. I was like, okay, well, let's cut out some variables. So I unplugged it from my computer, unplugged the USB completely, turned it on, same thing. I left it unplugged for an hour, hoping that capacitors would discharge,
right.
and if that's what's keeping the air alive, would stop it. To no avail. Flipping it on and off, didn't do it. Holding the reset button while I turned it on, didn't do it.
Have you tried resetting the video cable? Or the display cable?
Yeah, no, I pulled the bottom off and messed with everything. And what happens is, after about 3 days, you can turn it on and it comes on.
Did you try, when you undid the video cable, did you do it just from the 2560, or did you also pull the screen off the front of the printer and reseat it there also?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Try reseating on both and see what that does. It may just have a cable that's just kind of cockeyed just a bit.
And that's what I was thinking, because like I was saying earlier, because my board wasn't set, that the little holder was not set tightly. I pulled it off, loosened it, wiggled it around, wiggled it and turned it on. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's a really frustrating thing, because the last time the only way I could get it to fix was I recompiled and re-uploaded firmware to the Arduino, because my computer still sees the board.
Right.
The printer's just not functioning.
And
it's the actual printer itself does not in a functioning state at that point, because I can still connect to it with Repetier, but it won't move, won't respond or anything. So I have a feeling it's a board issue.
They'll send you a new 2560.
Oh yeah, and that's fine, but being someone that is mechanically inclined and is willing to dig into it and fix it, that's fine. I'll fix it. It's not a big deal, and it wouldn't be detrimental to me. But someone just going out and spending, like we had a guy get a hold of us saying, is this worth the money?
Right.
And saying someone throwing out $100 at something, even though it's a test model and we're getting a really good deal on it. And that person's main concern is it worth my money? And this happening could turn someone off potentially in a big way.
Right. And I think that they have some quality control issues with packing.
They do.
Because my printer, when it arrived, had a busted belt clip, which we've discussed. And the company, they at least sent me out a new piece. It took a while to arrive. I was able to repair mine with some super glue, and works to this day. Even I haven't even replaced that part yet. I'm not even considering it until it fails.
Yeah.
Because I've torn the printer apart. I know I can replace this piece pretty easily, but if it's not broke, don't fix it, is what they say. Yeah. Technically, it was broke. I super glued it, so it has to be broke again for me to fix it.
Yeah.
But you had the issue of where the bracket for the jog dial on the screen was loose on yours. Pretty minor, just reseating it.
Nothing big.
But
it's still something. Like I said, right. A not so mechanically inclined person would go, this is broken.
And then our listener, John, when he got his was the worst of the three, actually. His had busted rivets on it, and the bracket that holds the print bed was actually bent up a good 20 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fairly noticeable. So he's had to, he got hold of me and says, we've been emailing back and forth every few days. And he was like, first email was, is it worth it? I said, for $100, yeah, it really is. It's a good printer. Mm-hmm. And truly, these things print phenomenally.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, these things I'm saying are, you always hear about the bad things because that's what's pertinent on your mind.
Sure.
It's a great printer. I've had amazing, great prints with it.
It's just, they need better quality control when packing.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent a message back, asking some questions, and I responded to him. And then he wound up getting his printer, mm-hmm. and he wound up getting some Hatchbox filament also, because the printer only comes with like 3 meters of test filament or something like that.
I still have it in the bag.
Yeah, and I actually wound up just burning through it.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I've used both of those spools or both those little hand coils, because some came with my Perusa as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent me pictures, and I'm like, holy cow, that sucks,
Mm-hmm.
Get hold of them right away. Let them know what's going on. They will send you out a part. They're very, very responsive and
mm-hmm.
willing to work with you if something's wrong with the printer.
Yeah.
That's the one. I mean, it is probably the best Chinese company I've dealt with.
Yeah,
with this.
Yeah.
There's companies I've dealt with where they pretty much didn't respond or said, okay, send it back. And I would send it back, and they'd be like, oh, we never got it, and we're not going to refund you your money.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother nightmare. But this company has at least been great to deal with.
Yeah, they have been.
So he sends me a message back that says, they got a hold of me, they're sending me out the new piece.
Mm-hmm.
And he was concerned about taking the printer apart. So, like, on the spot, I get the email, I turn around, I pull the filament the spool holders and the filament off of the machine, and I start taking pictures and tearing my machine apart. Mm-hmm. I'm like, here's some teardown instructions. I flip it over, pull the 8 screws off the bottom, and I'm taking pictures as I go. I compile it into a little PDF document, mm-hmm. The step-by-step teardown of it, and send it off to him. And he responded back with, whoa. I'm like, they're actually really... Printers, in honesty, are very simple machines.
Yeah.
We're talking some motors, we're talking some pulleys, and some belts or gears, depending upon the machine. We're not talking, they're not as complicated as an internal combustion engine where you have to have all these bearings and everything. So they're very simple. And my suggestion to anybody who's tearing down anything, really, including 3D printers, grab your smartphone or digital camera, take photos of the process each step of the way. So you can see, as you take it apart, this is what it looked like. You remove the piece, take up another picture, and when you go to reassemble it, you can follow those teardown instructions in reverse order, and you should be able to get it back together pretty easily.
Yeah.
If you do anything that messes with the X or Y carriage, be sure to get your calipers out and take measurements along the way. You want to make sure that your X and Y are square. So, like in the case of the meat creator, we've got brackets on both the left and right side. Mm-hmm. Just take a measurement off the frame to that bracket and do the same on the other side and make sure those are as close to even as you can get. You'd probably be a little off on it, but you don't want to be 2 millimeters off like I was when I tore mine down, because that will cause a little bit of issues. There'll be some binding and
oval circles.
Yeah. So things that will not be square. Mm-hmm. But so it sounds like his part's on the way. He says that he was able to. What did he say? He was like, I was able to remove the rear wing nut and then put a wad of blue tape on the back so it hit the end stop so he could get it kind of level. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I've been printing things. Most of them have failed, but I've got a few things that my son could play with. And I was like, yeah, once you get the new bed, that's going to change.
Yeah,
because
drastically.
Bed leveling is crucial. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a good foundation to print on, it's just going to go wrong from there.
Yeah.
But I said that's good that you're printing. It at least gets you familiar with the process and the software. Mm-hmm. So hopefully when he gets it, we'll get some pictures and hear from him. And his last comment was, I still got lots of questions. If I get too needy, let me know. And I told him, don't worry about it. I was like,
it's kind of what we do.
Yep, that's one reason why we do what we do, is so we can share this knowledge with people. And if you don't mind, we'll probably be answering some of your questions on the podcast.
Best way for us. But yeah, shout out to John.
Yeah, thank you, John. And we also noticed that you posted
on our Facebook.
Yep, posted and followed us on Facebook
and Instagram.
And Instagram. Cool. Mm-hmm. Hit us up also on Twitter and SoundCloud, please.
Yes.
Those are 2 forms, but anywhere else we'll accept follows and likes and all that other fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
He did also say that he listened to 3 episodes and thinks it's pretty good. I'm kind of curious as to if he started at episode 1 and is moving forward from there. He does drive a lot, so it'll be interesting to see, because if he starts from 1 and then listens forward, he'll hear the changes in the podcast, because the format has definitely evolved since we started.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we really like the feedback. Anybody else, if you have any questions about 3D printers, send us a note. If you're looking at buying a 3D printer and want to know if it's a good purchase, let us know, and if we can help, we will definitely give you our feedback on it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what we hope to do.
Yep, that's our big thing, and also it gets us more familiar with the other pieces of hardware out there. A lot of printers are the same, but some do things a little different than others. Mm-hmm. Every printer costs a little bit different, and they can generally do some different things. So the more questions we get, the more we learn.
Mm-hmm. But printing wise, I think that was about it for me. I mean, I did print a lot, and like I said, I'm just literally printing knick-knacky things,
right,
just to get filament through the machine and put it through its paces. I did have to grease a second time already. I greased all the smooth rods.
Yeah, I've been using some lithium grease. I need to find something a little more permanent than that.
The grease I use is really cool.
Yeah, I just don't have any of that. So
yeah, I'll give you some if you want some. But it's I can't remember. I always, every time I talk about it, I'm like, oh, it's really good stuff, but I don't remember what it's called. It's blue. It's for RC
But
cars.
you picked it up. Yeah, you picked it up at the RC hobby shop, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's for the differentials in RC cars. Yeah. So it's made to not fling and get off of what it's supposed to be lubricating.
Yeah, I know on the Z lead screw, it came stock with the red grease.
Yes, but it was not good.
Mine's been fine.
It's like packing grease.
Yeah, mine's been fine, but I do need to go through. I want to clean the excess. Excuse me. Lithium grease off of my X and Y rods, the smooth rods, and actually put something a little bit more robust on there.
Yeah, I did, because I used lithium for a long time, and
it just breaks down over time.
Super fast, especially on like the Da Vinci's, because the heated bed and the heated chamber, it was like every other print I was applying lithium grease if they didn't squeak.
So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when I was printing those T800 skulls, it was in ABS, and because the meat creator obviously is an open frame, what I did is I took some blue tape and some standard sheets of paper and
made an enclosure.
I MacGyvered an enclosure basically. I couldn't cover the top, but because it's able to cover the sides and the front, it reduced the amount of airflow going through the bed and kept it pretty warm in there.
Did it?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I have a ceiling fan in my office right now. I just wound up keeping the ceiling fan off so there was no downdraft, and it printed just fine.
Nice.
So,
did you need to take that?
No, I just have somebody calling me from Washington. I don't recognize the number. They will leave a message, and I'll call them back.
Beep.
Exactly. I am busy. So, but as far as printing goes, I really passed the pieces of the Overwatch emblem that I'm printing. I haven't done anything since, and I think I printed those like Monday?
Is it?
Sunday, Monday? So pretty much after I printed those, I got the message from John, and I tore my machine apart.
Mm-hmm.
Being the nice guy that I am.
You're so nice. I am printing vape things. I know we talked about this a while back when we stopped in. We were at work and we stopped at a vape shop. I needed some juice.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, hey, I do 3D printing, and would you be interested in selling stuff that we print? And the guy was like, yeah. It turns out I don't go to that vape shop anymore. I go to one here locally in our town that we live in.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, hey, you know what? I've got a 3D printer. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. So actually,
you get two reactions. It's either, yeah, whatever, or Ermagerd, you has 3D printer, let's talk, and more talk.
Yeah.
There's no kind of middle ground.
Well, there's three. You get the meh, or you get the, what's that?
Right. Well, yeah, there's also the what's that. Yeah, there's the ones that are like, meh, or 3D printing, huh? Or Ermagerd. There's nothing kind of in the middle. It's like, yeah, all right, sure. 3D printing's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
actually, what it's currently printing, and I printed last night, was a four pack battery holder.
Uh-huh.
Like my old vape had those big 18650 batteries. Because that's a big thing. I mean, you throw a couple of those in your pocket, and the wrong ends touch the right ends, and they explode.
They can, yeah. They can have issues.
So I printed one of those. It had a sliding lid, so you can just kind of throw the batteries in it, throw it in your purse, throw it in your truck, keep the batteries
Not
contained.
like a hinged one, so you just open it?
If anybody can't see, I'm flipping Joe off right now. But I have a lot of...
Like a wallet.
Yes, like a wallet. I would guarantee that meat creator can do a wallet just fine. With a hinge.
Actually, I did print one of the wallets that I use and my wife uses. You used to use.
I did.
I wound up printing one and giving it to Russ at work because he's been asking, and I finally said, here you go. But I do actually want to try one of those hinged wallets.
I almost did the other day, but I can't remember what I printed instead.
Yeah, just one of those to see if it can be done. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'll print it in PLA or ABS.
I would suggest ABS.
Yeah.
Wallets, I've printed one PLA wallet, and it lasted about a week.
I'm not looking to actually use it. I'm just looking to see if it could do it. And PLA would at least break free a little bit easier than ABS would. Mm-hmm. I printed those planetary bearings in ABS. Mm-hmm. And if I can see where if you don't get to them right away, they could fuse pretty easily. One of them, the first one I printed, sat for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. And a few pieces bound up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I had to wind up manually cleaning the extra layers that were ripped off of one side and stuck to the other. Mm-hmm. But the second one I printed that has the 6 bearings in it, 6 planets in it, that one I pretty much pulled it off the bed right away and broke it free, and that one is really, really smooth.
Yeah.
I still did a little cleanup on it, but I really didn't have to do a whole lot. So, but yeah, I think it needs to be, if you have any moving parts and you do it, moving print in place parts, and you print in ABS, get it off the bed and get it moving as soon as you can.
While everything's still pliable.
Yeah. Yeah, that way everything hasn't had a chance to really cool and set. And if you do that, you get it moving a little bit, you can then let it cool because you will have some shrinkage at that time. Just the nature of plastic, it will shrink, and then it should work pretty good.
Any Seinfeld fans, little
Yes.
George Costanza line?
Yeah. Come on, shrinkage!
I was in the pool! But, so I did a 4-pack one, and it's currently printing a little 2-pack. It actually looks like the old cigar cases.
Right.
They look like a flask, but they have the little humps in them for the cigars.
Yep.
But it's a 2-pack one for those same size batteries. And I just kind of said, hey, y'all just print out some things and bring them in, and we'll work out a deal. He's like, well, I'll buy them wholesale, or I'll just give you juice for them. It works.
Let's support my addiction.
It's my addiction that's healthier than my previous addiction.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not knocking it, because it's nice that he'll be able to make some money off it. You're saving money without having to buy that. I mean, yeah, filament's going to cost, but in reality, you don't go through a whole lot of filament when you print.
Oh, no.
Even big things. Like, I printed those big T800 skulls, and like one of those only uses 1/4 kilogram of filament, maybe. And that was with, I think, 10% infill. I could cut the infill down, reduce the layers, and still use less filament.
Yeah.
But really, it doesn't take a whole lot. I'm to the point now where I'm down to, like, I'm finishing up some rolls of PLA, but I'm almost out of PLA. I've got to make a filament order. Yeah. I've still got a decent amount of ABS, but I'm trying to get that M3D ABS to behave.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, and I got it to print good on the DaVinci.
Yeah. We got to go through, I want to go through with you and check a few things. I've looked at all of my bed positioning stuff. And for whatever reason, still, when I put a model in Repetier and it's on the center.
Oh, it's not center.
And I go to print, it's not in the center of the bed.
Yeah.
And I've looked at my bed dimensions and everything. I've went through the manual, followed it, and it's all set correctly at 160.
So you need to change it in the print in the firmware.
I did in the firmware, like the
From
uploaded
Repetier. No.
firmware.
Because you can
Because I know there's a printer settings you can go into and define your print bed in there, as well as if you go into the slicer settings, you can define it.
It's under printer in Repetier. If you go under printer and I think it's configuration, you'll get a long list of line items. And it's like everything. It's literally everything. It'll give you your default temps, your max temps, bed size, steps per millimeter, all of that stuff. And what you're not looking for is your bed size. It's your center position.
Right.
I've had to do it on the DaVincis, and that was a long time ago. My meat creator is doing the same thing. It does not print directly on the center of the bed. For the most part, it hasn't worried me because I haven't had to print large enough to where it matters.
See, I think a lot of it is because the print bed itself is actually bigger than 160. So I think it's larger than 160, but the print area where the heater is 160. I haven't confirmed that, so I might just be talking out my ear.
But, okay, so on mine, it's the y-axis. If you're looking at the printer, it's to the left.
Right.
It's always to the left on the bed.
Correct, mine too.
And X is fine. X is dead on.
Yeah, I believe X is dead on also. It just prints farther to the Y. So when I print things, when I place things in Repetier, I try and shift it to the left or to the right some. So I know when it's going to print, it prints to the left. And I'm pretty accurate with it, but I would really like to just be able to drop it, change any dimensions, rotate it however I want to do it, and just hit print. Especially because if you print an ABS and you put the print near the edge of the bed, it's going to be cooler near the edge of the bed than it is in the center. And I'm going to start printing pieces for this 18-inch tall Voltron, articulating Voltron model, and I want to make sure that I have as few botched prints as possible. I know I'm going to have some, but if I can get most of them in the center of the bed, I know that's going to reduce my chances of a failed print.
For sure. But yeah, we'll look into that some more. Let me open my firmware.
Yeah, I'll dig through mine too.
And then it's just for the most part. I mean, you could really do the calculation on it but that is a simple enough thing where you just plug some numbers, see what it does, and then add or subtract from what you get.
Right. And I need to find out. You've uploaded your firmware and you don't get light controls anymore?
Nope.
So I mentioned that to G-Tech, and I haven't heard anything back. So I'm gonna fire off a reminder email and see if they can update that firmware, because I did go out and re-download the firmware, and I have been looking for it because you made comment about actually remixing my spool holder where it will hold a GoPro.
Yes, and that's where the light would be amazing, because now I have to use an external light source.
Correct.
To light it to see the print.
Yeah, and I don't know how well that light source is going to work. My wife purchased some studio lights, and I might do the same. Just get some studio lights and set it up so I have some good lighting and no shadows, and do some time lapse. I've been really wanting to do some of those. It's just getting the lighting right. I've done some, and I'm a perfectionist, and if I see a poor quality video out there, I'll just move on to the next one. And I want to get some good videos so we can actually do some time lapses on top of the podcast.
I really want to do it for YouTube.
Right, exactly.
I haven't been releasing YouTube because I was like, okay, I'm going to do this time lapse. Every time I try to do it, one thing I did notice about the Meat Creator too, when that thing hits its end stops, it hits hard.
Mine doesn't.
See, and I put my I have a Logitech C920, and I just set it on top, mostly because I wanted to watch the print and make sure if it failed I could stop it from work.
Right.
And it would. I first logged into it when I first got to work. It takes me 20 minutes to get to work from my house.
Yeah, it's a 20-minute drive from where we're at.
And I got to work, and I had set it up perfect. I had looked at it while I was there, made sure I could see everything. Got to work, and it was twisted. I was like, okay, well, it moving probably just the camera turned.
Yeah, as it moves to the left, especially when it is doing like infills and things like that, it gets to the end where it stops and goes to change directions. Yeah, there's a little bit of it jostles the frame a little bit. All printers do it, really. It does. Oh, yeah. Because it's moving that fast.
My DaVinci shakes the table it sits on when it does infill at a high speed. But
and what was it? Chris, the guy who used to work for Trinity Labs, he has some printers that'll do infill. What was it? 200 millimeters per second or something ridiculous like that. But these are all metal construction, lead screw driven, and probably shake a table really good when it works. Yeah, he's got everything kind of bolted down, so that's on nice stable surfaces.
But the reason I haven't is, one, lighting.
Yep,
it's in my bedroom. And we have a huge, it's almost like a dormer that our bed sits in, and the light comes through it, and it casts a horrible shadow where my printer sits.
Yep.
And I've tried some lighting. I had a little USB light that I could plug into my tower, which sits right behind it, and it just kind of sat over the top of it, and it lit it enough. But what I really want to make is I want to make one that actually attaches to the bed.
Right.
So the the camera angle never changes, and it's always looking directly at the print.
Right.
I just need to come up with something. Somebody had made one for the Da Vinci's, and I've never printed it, and I should just print it and then take a look at it and see if I can just edit it just a minor amount.
You can get like those little pistol grip clamps.
Yeah.
You use those to hold it. You probably don't want to use like the spring clamps because they'll shift a little bit with the pistol grip.
You mean like the
type
ratcheting
clamps.
type?
Yeah. With those little pistol grip clamps, you can actually really tighten it down onto the bed and shouldn't have any movement. There is, and actually this kind of leads into one of the news articles that I'm going to post, a thing that about top 15 3D printed GoPro mounts. But if you got to Thingiverse and look up GoPro,
oh my goodness,
you'll find a ton of GoPro. Skeleton frames, mounts. I've got a mount that actually bolts onto the Z-axis of my Prusa that I can mount a GoPro to, and it just follows the Z-axis as it raises. So you can always get kind of a little top-down or side view of the model.
And that kind of is what I was thinking of doing. I was just going to take on one corner of the bed and get a longer screw, and then I was just going to mount an arm that you would put that, and then that would take the place of your washer under your wing nut.
Okay.
And then just kind of have it come out, and you could articulate it like those Gorilla Pods.
Right.
And just have that hold the camera.
Yeah, could do that. Yeah, there's lots of ways that you could do it. I haven't necessarily sat down and really thought about it. I figured I would just do similar to what you're going to do. Take the spool holder mount that I have, remix it to where I just put the receiving end of the GoPro
on the end.
Yeah, clip on the end, I guess. And it just hangs on the bed, and it just has this one stationary place, and you can just watch the Z bed lower as it adds material to it.
Yeah.
Prints the layers out. So. But again, that's a project that
you must find time.
We have to find time to do.
Unfortunately, now I'm looking at selling my house.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, I have a feeling 3D printing is going to take a little bit of a backseat to home upgrades that I need to do before I can sell my house.
Yeah, there's probably a few things that I know. When I sold my last house, it was I didn't have that luxury, so but it helps.
Yeah, there's a few things. An ex-coworker of mine has retained his real estate license, so he's going to both sell and be our buyer's agent. And he's going to come by the house soon, and we're just going to walk through and say, okay, paint that, do this, and so a lot of that's going to happen. Actually, once we finish up today, I'm going to go look at a house.
Right. Now, you've been, well, it's not podcasty related things, so we'll talk about this offline. So beyond that, I really don't have a lot of new stuff that I'm going to cover. It's been a busy week anyway. Like I said, I hadn't printed anything myself. It's now July.
It is July. It's the fourth weekend as we record this.
Yep. It is the ability to get the Space Invader print of the month. That's kind of come and gone. So we'll send those out to anybody who's become a $5 patron. Any leftover, we'll probably wind up sending out with our new patrons, but we're not going to print anymore. We will announce next week the new print of the month.
Print of the month.
And those will be sent out at the end of the month as well. So it is besides that, Happy Canada Day.
Yes, if you're Canadians.
And Happy Independence Day.
Yes.
Which is coming up here on Monday for you Americans. And I don't know if I should say happy Brexit or send my condolences. I've been watching that, and that's hit a few 3D printing companies pretty hard overseas. 3D Systems got hit pretty bad. Their stock prices took a hell of a dump.
Another thing, it's not related to 3D printing, but Game of Thrones they're kind of hard up for a few their main filming locations now.
Oh,
because now that they're out of the EU, and the EU is a big supporter of Game of Thrones because it made them a lot of money. I mean, the amount of people that they were bringing in to record the episodes was huge. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's a problem.
Well, yeah, because what the EU allowed you to do is travel freely and work freely between any of the EU-aligned countries. Mm-hmm. And now that that's gone, those people are kind of in a pickle. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I really do hope it goes well, because one of the places I would like to eventually move to is Britain. For some reason, I have just had. I felt like I've belonged there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have my lineage is from there. Mm-hmm. And while I've never been there, I like their TV shows. I like a lot of the stuff that comes out of Britain. Mm-hmm. So hopefully things turn around and just get better.
Yeah. Yep. I don't have a lot to say on it. I don't follow it. I don't follow politics as much as possible.
I up till it was like a week or a few days before the vote happened. Mm-hmm. I hadn't heard anything about it, and then all of a sudden it was just everywhere in the news. John Oliver did a segment on it, and I watched it, and I got digging into like the details, and yeah, it really looks like those 65 and over were the majority that had voted to leave. Mm-hmm. And they voted on that because they were under the impression that it would get rid of the refugees. It had nothing to do with refugees at all. No. And there was also the misinformation that they would save something like £390 million a week that was supposedly being given to the EU, and they weren't getting anything really back from it. They would be able to hold on to this $390 million. And that wasn't true either. The guy who had actually said that drove around in a big red bus that, proclaimed right on the side in lettering that they would save all this money. When asked afterwards, well, now that we're going to be, you said that we'd be saving this money and all this stuff, he turned around and said, I didn't say that.
Oh, no.
And they're like, we have you on tape saying this, on video. We have you driving around this big bus with pictures that state this. And he's like, And he's kind of in some hot water because he lied. But unfortunately, there is no, hey guys, this didn't happen, because the president of the EU is now saying they voted to leave, let them go. There's no undo. Yeah. They have to live with their consequences. So it's kind of scary. I mean, one of the world's biggest superpowers, Britain, they've colonized quite a bit of the world. They've been around forever, is now kind of struggling. Mm-hmm. So, but again, not 3D printer related stuff. It's just new stuff. I really do hope things turn out well.
Yeah,
that's the takeaway from this.
Yeah.
Gaming stuff. We actually have a new standalone server.
Yes.
That we have functioning. Mm-hmm. We have put Minecraft on it. We have the server optimized where it runs really, really, really well. Now we just need to find our world file.
Yes. We have a Feed the Beast Infinity server up there currently, and been farting around on that a little bit. But I am frantically trying to find the world save that I grabbed off our server when we took it down. I hope I can find it. Luckily, we didn't start Erebor yet.
Yeah,
that would be detrimental.
There's just a ton of hours into exploration and mining and resource gathering and, making some things, but it can all be redone.
Oh, yeah. Beauty of Minecraft.
Yep. Yeah. So, like I said, here next week we may have a surprise.
Yeah.
To share. So,
QQ.
Let's see.
Overwatch. Still been playing. Been frustrated. The competitive play has got me entirely too frustrated. I haven't even played.
I'm not even going to get involved in that.
Yeah. It's probably for the better.
Yeah.
I've been very disappointed because you can shine and be the best player of the team and still lose and still take a loss for your placement.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for some people to acquire Dead by Daylight, get some nice friend games going. I know Travis has been playing some, and he's encountered some cheaters within the game.
That's surprising.
Or at least that's what he's claiming. I can't confirm nor deny that. I know they have anti-cheat measures in there, and I know there's been a lot of people who were playing in the betas who continue to play now, and they're just really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's I think once we get a group of people that we know together that we can just play and learn and fart around, I think it'd be fun. I haven't played any more Grim Dawn. I've been threatening to do so. I really want to get into that game. So I might play some more of that. Past that, I've been looking at trying to start the third installment of Uncharted, so I can finish that, and then look at getting into Uncharted 4. Still haven't finished Fallout 4 yet. Like I said, I got frustrated with the game, and the thing that's stopping me is going back and encountering the same things.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I think, blitz right to the end.
Oh, yeah.
At that point. Just look at my primary quests, not deal with the secondary quests, just so I can get it taken care of. I know that there's a lot of content that they have added in the DLCs, but I don't know if I'm going to pick up the DLCs. I generally don't. Yeah. The times that I have, those have been for like the Call of Duties or the Battlefields. Those people who I play with don't pick up the DLCs, and I wind up just wasting that money. So, and don't necessarily feel like wasting that much money. The DLCs are expensive.
Yeah, even Call of Duty DLCs are
even the season passes, which I have
$50.
Right, and I have a moral issue with those.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to do these things. Give us about the same price you paid for the game, and we're going to promise you this content later.
You'll hopefully get it.
Right. So, but that's just another issue I have with the current gaming industry. So,
yeah.
Let's see. Past that, I've been working on a lot of stuff for work. A new position is opening up, and I am going to pursue it. It's been a position that I've kind of wanted for the last 5 years. I've been really working on preparing myself for it, and surprisingly, it got sprung on me here last week. So that's been one of the things that's really kept me from doing a lot of gaming and a lot of 3D printing. I've been working on resume and cover letter and just getting all of my ducks in a row. So when I turn this in, I am not behind the 8 ball, because I expect turning it in and then all of a sudden, okay, I have an interview and I don't want to be in a crunch to get that. I'm going to be nervous enough as it is. So, but past that, really, that's all I've got. Is there anything else?
No.
No other gaming, no other
Not really.
things?
I'm going to be playing that Infinity server quite a bit. I'm going to probably give Overwatch about a week break. Just kind of step back from it. I really want the new maps to come out.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of just being the same thing over and over and over again.
It's not just new maps. It's also they're adding 3 new heroes. At least 3 new heroes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to give Overwatch a little break because I don't want to burn out on it. Because I do have a lot of fun when I play.
Oh, yeah. It's really fun. It's some of the pickup groups still are... they're interesting. We were in a game here the other night, and one of the few times I was on, actually, I think that was the only time that I was on. It was you, me, and other coworkers, and we crushed this team. And it wound up, a couple of our people left. We had a few pickup guys, and we wound up almost winning. I mean, we pushed them back to the second capture point, but they turtled up pretty good. Yeah. And one of the guys at the end of the match was like, "Oh, GG, thanks for the easy win," who had been there the round before, and one of his teammates told him to pretty much shut the heck up. You know, don't be a tool.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Yeah, sorry."
I think what's happened in Overwatch is there's been a huge influx of Call of Duty style players.
Yep.
And they'll just go after the cheap and easy ways to win. Bastion, Torbjorn, that are just left click wins.
Right.
Now, granted, yes, and I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, "Oh, Bastion's overpowered." There's many ways to deal with it.
Or all he does is sit in a corner. That's his strategy, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what he does.
He sits there. He is a mobile turret that you can control. He heals himself, and that's it. But he really doesn't have a lot of health. I can get behind him with a Reaper, and I can outmaneuver a Bastion and kill them in a few hits.
Yeah.
So...
But then it becomes really hard to deal with when you got 2 Torbjorns with turrets that are... The one thing I do think they need to nerf is the lock-on speed of Torbjorn's turrets.
Absolutely. Holy cow.
Because you can't even poke your head out to find out where the turret is without taking...
And it's already found you.
At least 2 shots.
Oh, yeah.
By the time you're back behind the cover you were in, you're going to take at least 2 shots.
And that turret hurts.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. That turret's lock-on time needs to be dialed down just a hair. I know there is, I can't remember what one it is, but I like, as Reaper, you go to leave one of the spawn points, and you find out where somebody is. A lot of people still haven't figured out that Reaper teleports. I like teleporting behind people and catching them off guard, especially snipers. They'll sit there and spawn camp.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, because if you can get there fast enough, they won't stand a chance. There's your Overwatch tip for the day. Reaper can teleport, and I like playing Reaper.
He's fun.
I have fun playing. Most of the people I've played, I have a lot of fun with. I play Reaper a lot. I play Junkrat a lot. But I have fun playing Bastion, Tracer, Torbjorn I've just been getting into. But yeah, those are pretty much the ones I've played.
And I'm a tank. I generally end up tanking or healing.
I played Reinhardt a few times. I like Reinhardt.
It's fun.
It's if
Roadhog.
nobody, yeah. I haven't played Roadhog other than in the test mode, just to kind of training grounds. That's a training mode.
Yeah, but most of my playtime is Reinhardt.
Most of mine, if you look now, it's probably Reaper. And if one of the other coworkers and I get on Reaper, we can terrorize a team pretty damn good.
Yeah. But yeah, other games for me, no. I'm not really looking into any other games at the moment. Like I said, a lot of my time is going to be soaked up by house improvements to get it ready to sell.
You really don't have a lot to improve, though. You've done a lot of the yard cleanings and other things.
I've got the whole backyard that I've got to redo. All the grass is dead out there. I've got to repaint the inside of the house. I've got some...
Painting is not too difficult.
No.
Unless you're going to change color.
We are.
Okay. You just go white walls on it?
Probably like a cream color.
Okay.
It's a very basic... we can talk about this later.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like I said, yeah, unfortunately a lot of my time is going to get taken up by the house stuff. And when I do want to play... like I said, I'm going to give Overwatch a break for a while. I'm probably just going to play Minecraft. For me, Minecraft's one of those games I can just sit there and play and not think and just go, ooh, it's over here. Let's go dig a hole. Let's go kill a monster. It's fun.
Yeah, basically, I'll dig up some dirt. I'll build a little hut around myself and start digging down.
Spelunking.
Yep.
It's a fun game, and my kid enjoys it, and I can play with my eldest. We really enjoy playing together.
Now you can change. Can you change the day-night lengths?
I think so.
Okay, we want to increase like the time for day and night.
Or we can just say there is a command to make always day.
Nah, I still like the day-night cycles. It's just when you got the server running, and I got on just to kind of fart around with it. It seemed like day went really, really fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think they're like 7-minute cycles.
Yeah, and I would like a little bit longer than that, because you can go out and you really can't get very far.
Yeah, before you're like...
It's like, oh crap, I gotta find a place.
Yeah.
Especially at lower levels. I think if we increase that time, we can actually go out, do a few things, and then, come back. Because once it starts getting dark and you're a ways away, you're like, I'm not gonna make it.
Just keep running.
Whereas once it starts getting dark, you're like, okay, I have some time. And then, that way we can, start setting up road systems and houses and other things if we need to. But, yeah, I think that does it for this week.
It does. I'm Andrew.
I'm Joe. And remember, if you can imagine it, you can print it.